Welcome to VET S.O.S podcast. Remember, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the VET S.O.S lifeline. Today, we're sitting down with Charity Brown, author, coach, and podcast host. She's doing some amazing work, and we're really excited to get into her story and what she does and how us as veterans can actually benefit from her services. So, get out the notepad, get out some pen and paper, and let's take some notes and figure out, maybe this is a good fit for you, maybe something you want to try. And as always, I'm here with the other side of the misery whip. How you doing today, Keith?
I learned today what a misery whip is. So, now that I know the whole saw thing, I'll just say misery loves company. But today's a good day to be here, and always glad to be able to join the show. How you doing, Shawn? I haven't asked you in a while. How are you doing?
I'm just holding on to the other end of the misery whip.
Hanging out for dear life. Got it.
So for clarity, so nobody thinks we're being dirty or anything, the misery whip is a nickname for the two-handed saw to cut down large trees. And if you've ever had to use one, you understand why it's called a misery whip. Not necessarily fun. But let's jump right into this. We got Charity Brown. She's the author, coach, and host of Create Clarity with Charity. Focused on fostering entrepreneurs and individuals to make impactful contributions to their communities. She is a business coach with over 20 years of experience as an entrepreneur, accountant, and branding expert. Her program, The Happy CEO, arms entrepreneurs with the tools for winning their inner game via the 4 Ps: power, planning, prospects, and profits. Charity is the author of Create Clarity with Charity. Discover a proven process to stand in your power, beat the odds, and get your keys to your dream future, and the host of the Clarity with Charity podcast. Fantastic. How are you doing today, Charity?
Awesome. Thanks so much, Shawn and Keith. Really happy to be here.
Oh, we're glad you decided to join us today to talk about what you're doing. Before we get into that, the coaching piece and everything you've got going on, what made you want to work with veterans? Like, how did you get into that type of line of work?
Yeah, well, I mean, veterans are the most selfless. They gave up their lives, put their lives on the line, some of them, their entire world to serve our country and to keep our freedom. So my dad, my uncle, every guy in my family's military. I tried to join the military. I joined the ROTC, and then I was going to boot camp, and they found out I was pregnant, so I had to go home. So that put a damper on my dreams of serving our country. So this is my way of giving back.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently they don't want pregnant women, in basic training. I guess there's a good reason for that. But okay, so let's jump into the work you do. Tell us about, what you're trying to accomplish, what you're trying to do for, the community, this work. How is it being so impactful?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's really key these days to have that clarity and that mission, purpose driven success, especially for veterans, coming out of the military. They, some of them come out feeling very defeated, lost. They don't give you training on how to go into civilization and start a business and, speak, your truth and stand in your power. And I've witnessed that quite a bit working with military that are transitioning. And I was working with Veterati for quite a few years. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're no longer around, but it was a great community. I helped a lot of military veterans escape corporate burnout and also transition, instead of going into a government job, start their own businesses and thrive. And so I think that's key for, even this day and age, that they don't give you the training in the military to say, okay, you're going to go into, be a civilian, and this is how life's going to feel to you. There's not a lot of tools out there. So the 4 Ps framework, the Happy CEO, really dials into the key fundamentals of, living your best life, dialing into, your purpose driven mission, and getting clarity on what success looks like, and then implementing it.
Very nice. Yeah, so Veterati, I know I was a huge consumer of Veterati when I was doing my transition. I was also a mentor on the platform. Since it went away last year, we had Mill Mentor rollout, which is another version.
Oh,
another platform like that. So if it's something you're still interested in, definitely check that out. Vets Industry just launched Post Veterati, uh, which is based on the Veterati platform. It's my understanding that the workings of it should be fairly similar.
Oh,
And I
cool.
think there's one other one out there. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. Yeah. So good thing is we got some mentor platforms back out there, which is awesome because I know, and Keith, correct me if I'm wrong, but you love the platform as well. And Veterati was huge for my transition.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember we initially connected on Veterati. You reached out to me for a call, and the rest is history. So here I am now. Now the teacher has, or the student has become the teacher, right? No, I absolutely love what you're doing, Charity. And so, kind of curious a little bit more about the journey, if you will. So, you center around a lot of emotional intelligence and unlocking breakthroughs and all that. Was there something that happened, like personal? Was there a personal moment or challenge in your life that kind of inspired you to help push other people past their limits as well?
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, I've had my, corporate burnout, complete despair, devastation. I went through a lot of loss in my life and also a lot of pressure. Being an entrepreneur, business owner, a restaurateur, an accountant, a CFO, I had a lot of pressures in my life. Like I was trying to do it all, and a mom. So I had all this, internal war, let's say. I was my worst critic. I wasn't, taught these tools either. I had to, spend years on self development, working with Tony Robbins and, Alan Knight, my Zen Zone monk, and, gleaning all these tools from people that studied human behavior, know how to shift the inner war and really dial in your compass and use these tools to help do that and get like that clear vision and clarity because this world is full of chaos and noise, and a lot of people have shiny object syndrome, and so it's like anything's better than what it is now, and just grasping at anything to help you know the the madness, let's say. And so being able to dial in to inner fitness isn't talked about a lot, and they sure don't teach it in school. They don't give you the tools in the military to say, hey, when you're faced with failure or stress, anger, disappointment, frustration, fear, all these things that keep us stuck, and all these things that keep us kind of in this yeah, like an inner war with ourselves because we don't know how to take that momentum and apply it in a positive way instead of feeding into all the chaos. So I wanted to bring those tools to the ones that need it the most because I've had a huge transformation and a shift. I've lost 100 pounds. I love myself now. I put myself first instead of like be people pleaser and just giving. And a lot of people that are in the military have put their lives on the line. They're willing to sacrifice their lives. That's like the most selfless thing. That's the most people pleasing thing you could do is like, hey, I'm going to leave my life on the line so you can have freedom and our country can be safe. So it's like they come out of the military feeling, as if undervalued, underappreciated, not enough support, not, and that's how I felt a lot of times as, a mom, a business owner, a restaurateur. And I was kind of soul wrecked, like I was in despair. Like I was, yeah, I might have looked good on the outside. I might have looked good on the outside. I have like 5 restaurants, an accounting business, a great house, but I was literally just tearing myself up inside. I was not a happy person for a very long time.
That's those are some great points. It's the inner war that goes on, because there's mantras, and failure, we don't fail, mission success, failure not an option, those types of things. And it doesn't really prepare us for the real world, outside of the military, because we will do whatever it takes to accomplish the mission, and but then, once you get on the outside, you can actually learn to grow through failure. And, that it can be a good thing. Nobody wants to fail. I don't know of anybody that sets out purposely to fail, but it's, I like the way you worded that and phrased that about, like the inner war and all that. Um, I, you were on Veterati. And for me, like that was a huge part of my transition. I was doing 5 calls a week, easy, to talk to people and figure out what I was going to do and things like that out of the military.
Mhm.
So what was that type of thing? How was that for you? You know, as someone who was not military, as a coach on that platform, you know, what was that experience like, and how did that help you become a better coach?
Oh, it was one of my number one tools, platforms. Like Veterati shifted my coaching business in a huge way because I was doing, yeah, like I opened up my whole calendar. So I was booked out with free calls to military veterans for like a couple years. Like I just dedicated my time because it felt so rewarding because the gratitude, the appreciation, and the success and seeing people shift from being, confused, scared, overwhelmed, frustrated, not wanting to go into a government job. They didn't even know what they could do. They're just like, I don't know, I'm getting out. Like, they're having me even sign up to work at call centers. They're like, I don't want to work at a call center. Like, so it was a complete shift in my coaching business because I really could see how I was helping people with these tools and being able to see the success and still have like the testimonials and some of my best clients came from there because they were so determined not to be another statistic. They were so determined not to be, a failure, but also to, thrive in life and to, choose themselves instead of choosing the government to choose their life for them. Like, I really like that a lot of military veterans get fed up. And once they get fed up, it's like, you can't stop them. It's like a freight train. They're so determined and disciplined. And I love that because that makes more success for my program because the discipline, and being like really certain about, not being another military statistic and doing what they love. And that's what I want to cultivate is like, hey, yeah, you served your time. You put in the blood, sweat, and tears. Now it's time for you to live your life to the fullest. What does that look like?
I don't know what she's talking about, Keith. This whole fed up thing, I have no idea what she's talking about here.
Well, and that actually kind of led to a question I was thinking anyway. Like you have so much experience in this area and in this because it translates to our transition, right? Like you talk about just burnout in the corporate world, but we get burnt out in transition a lot. I know I did. Shawn doesn't know what we're talking about because he had this golden brick road path. But what would you say to people, our folks listening that are in transition, especially, what are some of the warning signs of that burnout before they hit there? Like, what can people be on the lookout for to maybe try to prevent some of this, do some mitigation of this burnout?
Yeah, I mean, for one, like having the vision. So let's go into the first P, power, personal power. And everyone's like, rules are personal power. Here we go with this woo-woo stuff, right? But no, it's the truth. It's like if, you don't know yourself and you don't know what success looks like to you because you've been so busy, in your military career that how are you going to be able to dial into like, oh, actually, what do I want in life when you've been, serving so long? So getting clear on that, like what makes you happy? What brings you joy? What can you monetize and make money off of? And what could you do for the rest of your life that can support you, that you can enjoy? They don't tell you that, really encourage you to do that in the military, like, or in school or in society for that matter. Everyone, is it's a very complicated thing to be an entrepreneur because it's checking out of the box, right? It's like they don't give you a framework. Okay, I want you to first, really dial into, write 10 things down that bring you happiness and joy. Because when I was in burnout and when I was like in my midlife crisis and I was hitting rock bottom, I couldn't think of one thing that I wanted to do. And it was really hard for me to write a list of 10 things that I wanted to do when I had been serving my family, my staff, everybody else, my clients, just running. I was a human doing, just human doing, not a human being. I was literally like a robot. I just had to make it to the next day, and it was, I lost sight of myself. And I think with a lot of military um, veterans and people transitioning out, they have lost themselves, and they have to come home. And having a way to do that in a way that is effective, that feels good, that gets you motivated and empowered and gives you a community of people that support you and love you and want to hold you accountable to your goals. Because we all know that, um, we can compromise ourselves. It's like the easiest thing to do is like, oh, here are all these goals, like New Year's resolutions, right? And we know, like, oh, I'm gonna make $1 million, I'm gonna travel, I'm gonna find a hot husband, we're gonna get this nice house and all these cars, right? And then that doesn't happen, then there's this disappointment because we have these expectations now, like, oh, I failed myself, and then we beat up on ourselves. So there's a way to do that in a way that's more effective in the 4 Ps framework. And I help walk people through that. So when they feel like I'm spiraling out of control again, I am overworking, overgiving, overdoing, and not receiving. And that's the thing. People forget, they think, oh, that's selfish, or that's greedy, or that's this. And everyone has all these, you know, judgments on people putting themselves first, or, expecting to receive something in return. Well, when you're giving from an empty cup, you can't really live a happy, healthy life. So it's coming back down to those core fundamentals of like, what makes me happy? What does success look like to me? And what am I going to do to get it?
Uh, we've talked about that numerous times where if you don't take care of yourself, you can't effectively take care of anybody else. And if you want to be an advocate or a volunteer or give back to the community or what have you, you need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself first so that you're able to go do these things. And
Yeah.
it's so important to do that. And that is one of the biggest parts to me of the transition, is really that understanding of now focusing more on yourself and not on, like, as Keith and I can attest to, all your soldiers, and, making sure everybody's taken care of and all their needs are met and what have you. It's it is a mindset change that you sort of have to go through, and, at the same time, not losing who you are at your core as well, because I think one of the big things we see with military leaders is a lot of them are servant leaders. It's part of their DNA. It's who they are. They want to give back. They want to help out. They want to put others first. And there's nothing wrong with that. They just have to learn how to take care of themselves too.
Yes.
So I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why, I mean, it's a choice. And that's what we all have, this magic power, and it's choice. And we can choose if we want to nurture ourselves, our soul, and nurture the life that we have here, or, live life for everyone else, because we don't have a good relationship with ourselves. So we just want to give as much as we can because we're not sure how to give to ourselves. And I was that way for many years. I mean, I was definitely, an enabler and an overgiver and a people pleaser. And like, I just wanted to give, but because I wasn't giving to myself. And then at the end of the day, I ended up in burnout and despair. Yeah.
And I think it's interesting for our listeners, especially to hear, like, because there's truth when we say every transition is unique, everybody experiences something different, kind of thing. But to hear that this stuff happens in the quote unquote private sector, the civilian sector too, like in different forms, but we're all susceptible to it, and it can still happen. Um, and you've had so much success working with folks. So I would love to just hear, like, what's kind of one of your biggest, I don't want to say what's the biggest transformation you've seen, maybe either in your own journey or in somebody that you've worked with, one of your clients that, shows kind of the turning point for that lasting change long term.
Yeah. Yeah. When the light bulb goes on, it's like, and the light goes on inside. When you turn that light on inside, like I said, it's no stopping military. They're so determined and disciplined to find that. And the ones that do, like, okay, I'll give you an example. Because I do have like a lot of confidentiality,
Yeah,
rules with my
Of
clients. So
course. Yeah.
yeah.
Not
No, we
asking
don't
for
want names or details like that.
exactly.
Just, yeah, examples.
So let's just say, okay, military veteran comes out, works for Fortune 500 uh, company, works for 15 years as a C-level executive, very successful, multiple six figures a year, has a team of 45 people reporting to her. Absolutely um just depressed, burnt out, undervalued, underappreciated, stressed, no support, constant corporate grind, right? Like, just this is the box, you fit in it. Doesn't matter if it feels good, doesn't matter if you feel valued, doesn't matter if you're staying up all night and working weekends. They just want you to get it done. Doing that for 10 or 15 years will break a person. It will soul wreck you, not just military and things that happen there, but then when you get put into a situation or a job or a career after military, it just continues to eat away at the soul, let's say. So I've had clients that are in that position. I've had many from Veterati that are wanting out of corporate and former military. They don't know how to escape, right? They're just stuck because the fear, the lack of support, the comfort of the salary, so being able to get to a place with a client where they're like, I've literally been on antidepressants for 10 years. I literally have no joy in my life. I have 2 kids. I want to love them. I want to be there for them. I want to be there for my husband. I want to feel happy. Why do I feel so stuck and like darkness in the soul? And so when I have a client like that, it's so rewarding to me to see them light up. You can see the light turn on, literally, in their eyes, in their face, in the way they speak. And that's what the framework is, the inner fitness, the Zen zone mindset. It's baked into my happy CEO. And I go through every step with them, writing out, what does happiness look. First, we have to get to know ourselves again. So we can know and love ourselves so we can know and love you. We have to first put back into our soul and heal that so we can live an effective life. And I have had that with multiple military veterans that are in corporate and coming out of the military that have had crisis and things where they just completely have lost themselves and had stayed stuck for so long that it's almost hard to find the light. And to see them, resign, sell their house, go on vacation with their husband, take time a day for their kids, wake up first thing, put themselves first in the morning and excited about it, excited about grounding and getting out in the sunshine and taking a few deep breaths and really finding out, how can I make this day amazing? Intentional living. And I mean, I've seen it happen 100 times. Like, it works. I could go on and about my success stories. They're on my websites. They're, on my platforms. They're on my podcast. Like, there is transformation. There is breakthrough if you want it. Yeah.
That's awesome. And so let's transition a little bit from the coaching side to or the general coaching side when it comes to the happiness piece. And what do you do as far as coaching for entrepreneurship? Because entrepreneurship is a big thing that as veterans we get into. School and entrepreneurship are two of probably the biggest pathways in transition. So what are some things, some advice that you give people when you're coaching on the entrepreneur side?
Yeah. So I mean, business is my passion. And I think people that are entrepreneurs are very passionate people. They find something they're good at and then they monetize it. And then they're in their passion, right? That's the key, like that fire that lights up, you get excited about it. And that's, it doesn't always have to feel that way, but at some starting point, you have to kind of feel that way about your business. It's like a new baby, you're so proud of it. You're like excited, it's going to be fussy and all this stuff, but you're going to love it and nurture it. And it's going to grow into something amazing that's going to, you know, cultivate a great future for you. So, working with Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank and my business accelerator program was a huge success. I've helped hundreds of entrepreneurs really dial into like the key fundamentals of business without having to have a master's degree. I have a triple degree from Oregon State, and I've been in business for 25 years. I owned my own restaurants, multiple lottery facilities, an accounting business, e-commerce. I've been through it. I've had hundreds of accounting clients as a fractional CFO. So I brought all of that knowledge, my failures, my wins, my clients' failures, their wins, and packed it into the 5-star business accelerator, which is baked into the Happy CEO. So it's the Zen Zone mindset, 9 steps to inner freedom. And then the 5-star business accelerator that was endorsed by Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank. And he said that the investor pitch and the business GPS, that's the planning part of the 4 Ps. First, it's personal power, then it's planning. And, as military, you guys know how important it is to have your GPS, your coordinates, your plan, your strategy. And a lot of people don't, know where to start with strategy in business because they're just like, oh, I have this great idea. I'm really good with my hands. I'm going to build these houses and I'm going to start a business, and they need to look at it from a strategic side. Where can you leverage funds, capital, what resources do you have? Because you can bootstrap a business. You can start a business for $250 in the US. Like, you don't need thousands of dollars. You need a great idea, you need dedication, and you need to file an EIN number and get a bank account. End of story. You got a business. Then it's about taking that and strategizing and really setting yourself up for success using the business GPS. So planning, knowing who you are, who you serve, who your audience is, really dialing into, the marketing and the branding and the leverage and numbers. I'm a numbers girl. So, really understanding 5 key numbers, your ROI, your return on your investment, your profit margins. You can literally navigate your own ship to success if you understand a few very fundamental concepts.
Wow. I don't have an entrepreneurial spirit whatsoever. So
that math ain't mathin'.
No, man, not in my head.
Math
No.
ain't math. It doesn't. That doesn't.
But and
No.
we are almost at time, which breaks my heart. So yeah, I think before we started recording, it's like time goes by fast. So I'm just kind of I am curious. We veterans tend to be an untrusting bunch, even towards each other. Sometimes we're very skeptical. I'm just curious, like, how have you broken through the barriers because we tend to be even less trusting of non-veterans. How have you managed to break through the barriers to just to be there for the veteran community and gain their trust and confidence along this journey?
Yeah, well, it wasn't easy, let me tell you. You guys are right. I got to get hazed in, like, so it did come from because there is that automatic skeptic, why is she doing this for me? How does she understand? She hasn't been in my shoes, but I've been on a whole nother war because life can be war. I've been on the front lines feeling like I'm my only advocate. I've had to fight my way tooth and nail to the top of the food chain as a woman, as a mother, as it's just being undermined. I feel a lot of pressure from myself, and I love challenges. So when people tell me I can't, and when people look at me and say, she doesn't know how to help me, she can't, I love that. And I've always been, up against adversaries and, had a lot of, you know, pressure in my life to prove myself as a woman business owner. So I don't know. Uh, People say it's a man's world, but hey, the man's world has really helped me in my independence. So I don't know. I never really saw myself as an outsider. I guess it's all, like you said, a state of mind. But it's true. Like, once people start feeling the shift personally, like they get off the call with me and they're like, oh my God, like I felt completely different, like for the rest of the day. And I woke up excited to do my power hour. So it's like they're like, actually the stuff she says and does and taught me works. So, why would I hate on her? Right. So, and then they get to know my story, and then they know I wasn't spoon fed, this wasn't given to me, that I worked my ass off for this, and my heart's in the right place. So I think with anybody and anywhere, um, if your heart's in the right place and you really have something to offer and you're in it for the right reasons, people will accept you.
I think that's a great answer, and I think that is, yeah, that's the way to reach the veterans is just the authenticity, right, and
Yep.
the genuineness of it all, and it definitely exhibit you exude it and exhibit you exhibit it, and just the way you present yourself. So, but we are unfortunately at time. Charity. So before we go, though, one last question: how can people get in touch with you? How can they reach out and gain your services?
Yeah, well, you can check out my podcast, Create Clarity with Charity. It's on all the podcast channels. I also have my YouTube channel. You can go to charitybrown.biz, get a free strategy call. I'm also have a $1 million free branding strategy on there. You can click on any of the freebies. I have tons of freebies on my site. And you download my books from there. And they are very helpful. It's all free. So yeah, charitybrown.biz. You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Yeah.
And it sounds like you're walking the walk, because it's like you talk about burnout, but then you're doing all these million different things, like just there in your closeout, and you're staying energized, you're staying thriving, and that's awesome. So thank you so much for coming on the show, Charity. It was an absolute pleasure to get to know you and meet you and learn about all the awesome things you're doing for the community. And on behalf of the entire VET S.O.S family, we want to thank everyone for spending their time with us. It's always great having everyone along for the ride. Don't forget to check out all of our other episodes and keep coming back for more stories, insight, and support from the VET S.O.S crew. And if you enjoyed this episode, give us a follow, share the show, and tell a friend or two. Toss your battle buddies, fire team, shipmates, and wingmen that flotation device they need in transition so no one drowns in that sea of transition, and grab the VET S.O.S lifeline.